So you and Mackie have a bit of history. Presidents of the United States of America performed at our DLM series loudspeaker launch event in 2012. Do you remember anything about that day?
Well, what are you trying to say?
Hi, I'm Jamie Hernandez, and this is the Ins and Outs with Mackie, a show about awesome gear and awesome people. We'll be bringing musicians, engineers, podcasters, streamers, and sometimes the occasional Mackoid. If you're new to the show, make sure to hit that subscribe button on your favorite platform to get all the latest Mackie updates as soon as they're out. And be sure to check in the description on how you can win a free microphone. So our guest today is the former lead singer of the alternative rock group Presidents of the United States of America, who are well known for their tracks Kitty, Peaches, and Lump, to name a few, and for their unforgettable live performances. He was also known for his time as a children's artist, where he recorded and performed as Caspar Babypants. He has collaborated in many successful projects, and he's currently making music again as a solo artist under his own name. Welcome to the show, Chris Ballew.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice to be here.
We're so happy to have you. Chris, tell us your earliest musical memory.
Wow. My earliest memory is banging on the side of an upright piano with a hammer when I was about probably 18 months old. I remember the sound, the soundboard in the piano just like resonating and just going, yeah, this is great. Dun, dun, dun. And years later, when I took piano lessons and practiced on that piano, I would always look down at all the divots and be like, yeah, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is where I'm meant to enjoy music. So it was that. And then the most vivid early memory that's more influential is in 1967, when I was 2.5. My older brother bought Sgt. Pepper's for my parents for Christmas. And they just filed it away with their Don Ho and Andy Williams records. And I pulled it out and listened to it nonstop for about 6 years. And I didn't even listen to other records. I didn't know there were other records. I didn't even know the Beatles had other records for a long time. So that album really turned on my musical imagination. I could see what they were singing about. I went on a little journey every time I listened to it. And that kind of informed what I wanted to do with songwriting. I wanted to be visual and give people that, clear, kind of bizarre, surreal image that I got when I listened to Sgt. Pepper's. So that's the real foundational memory.
And I remember reading a little bit about you recording into your mom's boombox and what's it called, double track recordings.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't wait to the thrill of recording something and hearing it back. My dad had a little handheld recorder and he would record us and play it back. And it was just so magical and mystifying. So eventually I got a boombox, and my mom had a boombox. She was learning French, and she had these French language cassettes that she'd listen to. And so I would steal her French lesson cassettes and put Scotch tape over the holes and use them to record back and forth on two boomboxes, which ended up just sounding so compressed and hissy and weird. And there's all sorts of terrible things about those recordings. But actually, not to jump ahead too much, but I am making albums now under my name, and I'm actually using some of those old songs, which I still have, as seeds for new songs. I'm kind of finishing them. Somewhere underneath all the tape hiss and the fake English accent that I was fascinated with using, there are some good songs. So anyway, that phase is really in my mind these days because I'm actually working with that stuff. But yeah, it was super fun and thrilling. And my mom was always asking me for the boombox back because she had to study her French. And then in between all the songs were like, "Je m'appelle Jean-Luc," little French bits.
Did she ever finally get to learn French after you hijacking her boombox?
Yeah, she did. She was just always brushing up on it. Her mom was French, and so she was half French, and I was quarter French, and we spoke it around the house, and we traveled to France together when I was 14 and all this stuff. So anyway, it was just, I was like, you already know how to speak French. Give me those cassettes.
So you were the lead singer of the Presidents of the United States of America, but there's definitely a lot more to your story. Can you tell us how you got your start in performing with just in bands in general?
Oh boy.
I know that's a long road.
Well, no, it's not really long, but my first band always makes me laugh. I really was happy just in my bedroom with two boomboxes, playing around and making these weird little songs. And then I thought, hey, people are in bands. I should try that. And so I assembled this band that was so weird. So it was this guy, Arnie Livingston, on bass. He ended up being a real hotshot bass player, like kind of a Jaco Pastorius style, just crazy nuts, great bass player. But it was Arnie, who was a friend of my brother's, and Dennis Sway, this Hawaiian guy. I think he was Hawaiian. He wore a lot of Hawaiian shirts. He was on guitar. And then I was on everything else. I took an old Casio VL tone. It was like a calculator that also played music. I took one ear off of a pair of headphones, put it on the speaker of that, and tapped it for drums, and sang through it for the vocal, and played the keyboard. I couldn't do this standing up because there were too many balls in the air, so I had to lie on the ground. So it was me totally prone on the ground, singing into this headphone thing, hitting it for drums, playing the keyboard, and singing at the same time, while these two other guys stood up and played guitar and bass.
That's amazing. You were really, really ahead of your time back then.
I know. Actually, many years later, I went to see a band called Neutral Milk Hotel, and their keyboard player played with his nose. He lay on the ground and put the keyboard on the ground and played with his nose. And I was like, I know that. I know that gag. But we had no mic stands or music stands or anything, so it was just like this act of desperation. It was so weird. So anyway, that was my first band. Quickly though, I kind of backed away from the band thing because it's real messy and complicated, and I didn't know how to. I had a couple bands with some friends trying to play punk rock covers and stuff like that. But eventually, I kind of settled on playing with Dave Dederer, the guitar player from the Presidents, as an acoustic duo, and we would do coffee shops and stuff and do original songs. And that's kind of where the seed for the Presidents was planted.
You and Dave were known for your unusual instruments, the 2-string bass guitar and the 3-string gut bass. Yeah, there they are.
This is the guitar that I played on the debut album.
Wow.
Yeah, I spent $75 on it and sold 5 million records. That's
That's
good.
Awesome. Good deal. Worked out for you.
Yeah, kind of worked out.
How did you find a setup that worked for you?
Well, I played 6-string guitar and 4-string bass for many, many, many years. And then times were lean. I was living in Boston, and I had a little 3/4 scale acoustic guitar that was my only guitar at the time, I think. And I started breaking strings, and I couldn't afford to replace them. So I got down to 4, and I created an alternate tuning for those 4 and wrote a bunch of songs like that. Simultaneously, I became friends with Mark Sandman, who was the slide bass player in a band called Morphine in Boston. And I went to his house and hung out with him. And he had this guitar, although it's strung like a 6-string now, it was a 2-string. And I picked it up and just went, oh, yeah, this is it. It just felt so right. And kind of, I'm a minimalist anyway, so the minimal strings kind of resonated with me. But also, I could sort of wear my influences on my sleeve, and you couldn't tell because it was a 2-string. So it sounded different, immediately. Like, I think I'm playing a Kiss song, but it sounds like a Chris song. So that guitar is still in play. In fact, Mark unfortunately passed away in 1999, but a year before he passed away, that guitar showed up at my door unannounced in a box with a note that just said, "You're in charge of this now." So he kind of passed it on to me. It was really his influence. And then we sat around with this guitar, Mark and I. Mark had a box of strings and a caliper that would measure the diameter of the strings. So we would experiment and put different strings on and tune them to different pitches and see what kind of felt right. And we ended up landing on C# as the key for that instrument, which turned out to be prophetic because later, as we toured around America in our tour bus, we would pull out our instruments and kind of jam a little bit, and we'd have the alternative music radio on or whatever. And so many grunge songs and songs of the day were tuned down to C#. So we were kind of in the key of the day without really knowing it until we bought tuners. and heard the radio and realized, oh, that's in C sharp, that's in C sharp. So that was kind of a happy coincidence, but it was just the key and that kind of fit my voice. I could go into high melodic areas with C sharp and go low, and it kind of just, hit the sweet spot. So.
And when those notes ring together, it's just beauty.
Yeah.
So you've been aside from Presidents, you've been involved in a lot of projects, including Chris and Tad, which was, I loved watching your older videos, by the way, of Chris and Tad. The Giraffes, Creepy Sticks, Upset, and the Feeling Hijackers, to name a few.
Yeah.
What inspires you to start a project? And most importantly, how do you keep yourself motivated to follow through and to continuously produce music with each of these projects?
Yeah, I've, for some reason, been fascinated my whole life with finding out, well, number one, finding out who I am as a person, and then making music that is purely that person in sonic form. I always kind of, even though I grew up loving like the Sex Pistols and Kiss and bands that kind of had a look and a presentation and a sort of the visual part or the character of the band was something that was as important as the songs, I kind of wanted to be transparent in that regard. And so I just was on a big search, like the Presidents was part of that search. I felt after the Presidents kind of got signed and were a big deal, I could feel this feeling inside me like, congratulations, this is great, but this is not the end of the road. You got to keep looking, keep searching. There's some other sound out there that you're missing. And so it wasn't a matter of staying motivated. It was a matter of staying curious and constantly trying to figure out what this sound was that I was supposed to be making, which is why all those bands you listed happened kind of during and after the Presidents broke up for the first time. Because I was just constantly thinking, well, maybe it's this, maybe I should be, using this palette of sounds, or maybe I should be singing about these subjects. And none of it felt 100% right. I'd say the first one that felt right was the Caspar Babypants project, because I am kind of like a kid. I like holding on to the sort of magical perspective of the beginner's mind and seeing the world through the eyes of a kid. And I love being, entertaining little 0 to 6 year olds and being around them and hearing their weird, malapropisms and surreal notions of how the world works and stuff like that. So the combination of that nurturing my childlike side, and musically it was very challenging trying to come up with this. I always thought of it as making a dovetail joint. Like each song is this little box that I'm trying to construct and has to have integrity and beauty and be very simple, but also complex enough so the parents aren't left out of the equation aesthetically. I really actually always said that I made parents' music, not kids' music, because 85% of the decisions I made were for the parents. I just think it's sad when parents have to suffer through their children's music. So I was trying to bring the whole family together over one song. And that challenge of making a parent and a 4-year-old happy was endlessly kind of fascinating, which is why I made 19 records, because I kept once I found that voice and once I had this challenge of trying to ride that razor thin, line between grown up and kid, it just was a never ending erupting volcano of song ideas. So yeah, it was 12 years, 19 albums, 362 songs, 1,247 shows.
Wow.
Those are my stats. If I had a baseball card, that would be on the back.
You should get a baseball card.
A Casper card.
That's awesome. Wow. In a lot of your other interviews, you talk a lot about how visual art has really inspired Caspar Babypants and in the world that's been created for it. Can you dive a little bit into that?
Yeah, sure. My wife, Kate, she was a real integral part of me finding that voice, because I was still on the search. I was still starting and stopping bands, but on the side, I was playing acoustic music that was quieter and more kind of innocent and simple. But lyrically, I didn't really have a perspective, and I didn't know what it was or who it was for. But I just felt good to play stuff that was kind of not powerful and rock. And then I met Kate and looked at her artwork, and it just like struck me like, oh, this music I'm making, I think could come from the same planet as her art is coming from. Her art was like colorful, full of animals, had integrity. It was funny. It was well designed. It was folksy. It was innocent, minimal, simple. And I was like, all these adjectives are what I want to use to describe this music I'm hunting for. So I made some songs with her artwork really in my mind. And that's when it like hit me like a ton of little styrofoam bricks. I'm supposed to be making music for kids. Woo! Yeah! Come on. Hey, Mommy and Daddy, it's me, your baby tick, calling from the city, 'cause I know you're worried sick. I know you fret, but don't fret about me. I found a place to live, and best of all, it's free. Mommy, don't freak out, I'm living in a free couch. Daddy, don't freak out, I'm living in a free couch. Hanging out with the chicks in the city. Look me up if you want to get down, but please don't freak out, Mommy and Daddy, I'm living in a free couch. Yeah, a free couch. The life of a tick is short and boring. I had to mix it up, and I felt like exploring. So I went to the city to make it on my own. Someone put this couch in the street, and now it is my home. Mommy, don't freak out, I'm living in a free couch. Daddy, don't freak out, I'm living in a free couch. Hanging out with the chicks in the city. Look me up if you want to get down, but please don't freak out, Mommy and Daddy, I'm living in a free couch. Woo-hoo. Free couch. Come on. Guitar solo with my mouth. Bow, 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 bow. Bow, 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 bow. 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 Bow, bow, bow. You like my roommates, they're a bunch of funny bugs. Spiders, ants, and beetles, and one super lazy slug. This couch is home to one and all. And every Saturday night, we deck out the disco ball. Mommy, don't freak out, I'm living in a free couch. Daddy, don't freak out, I'm living in a free couch. Hanging out with the chicks in the city. Look me up if you want to get down, but please don't freak out, Mommy and Daddy, I'm living in a free couch. Woo-hoo! Free couch. Here we go. Sing it. Yeah. Free, 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 free couch. 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 Thank you. It was one of those revelations that just felt so right, and I felt so light. I felt like, oh my gosh, this is going to be great because it has nothing to do with having hits. It has nothing to do with being on the radio or being the flavor of the month, winning a popularity contest, convincing anyone I'm cool. All the sort of adult trappings were gone. And that was so liberating. It was like a parallel universe. And I got to really do it myself. I come from DIY roots, and Seattle really nurtured that when I was coming up. And this was a return to running my own label, distribution. I would book the shows, advance the shows. I was the roadie. I was the caterer. I was the performer. I was the massage therapist.
Wow.
I was the chef. So yeah, it was great.
Well, congratulations on a very successful career with Caspar Babypants.
Yeah, thank you.
It's awesome. So now, sadly, you have transitioned away from children's music. Was this a master plan to get a generation of kids hooked and then wait for them to be old enough to discover the presidents?
Yeah, people would say that a lot. They're like, the parents especially said, I grew up on the presidents, now I get Casper, and then I get to turn them on to the presidents. And then when those kids grow up and they have babies, they'll buy Casper, and then they'll turn those kids on to the presidents, and it'll just be this like,
You're onto something. We're onto you, Chris.
That's my master plan, to be perennially generationally, thank you, perennially generationally relevant. That's my master plan. No, I really don't have a master plan. It's a great coincidence, or maybe not a coincidence, because it's me and my mind and my voice that the presidents and the Casper would kind of, overlap a little bit. But really, the reason I moved on from Casper is just I ran out of songs. I really looked at, I'm the kind of person that saves all scraps of ideas. I record them on, whatever I can get my hands on. And then I've got thousands and thousands of little scraps. I listened to 5,400 scraps to mine that vault for Casper song ideas. I've done them all. Not that I couldn't write new Casper songs out of thin air. That could happen. But it just sort of felt like, putting out an album for Casper it was a lot of work. I would record 40 songs and 20 would make the album. And I was very hard on myself as far as, is this song exceptional? Is it good? Is it well recorded? Does it tick all the boxes? In the early stages, I had test families. I would send CDs with 60 songs on them to a bunch of families who would give me feedback. Like, this one's resonating, this one's not, this one's okay, that kind of stuff.
That's cool.
Anyway, yeah. So I'm going back on a Casper tangent, but all by way of saying that it was a lot of work and really hard and really challenging. And that arc just kind of arced. I didn't find myself feeling challenged by it anymore. I felt myself feeling sated, satisfied. There it is. There you go. So the next thing that came up for me was being, during the pandemic, I decided to be quiet, and I put my whole studio away in boxes. I didn't do anything goal-oriented with music. I just decided to be in the now, sit down at the piano every day, play my guitars, whatever, but I didn't even want to record an idea. I just wanted to be in the now. And out of that stillness and sort of hunting around and just pleasure and playing, this whole new sound started coming up. And it was kind of me going back to these other older roots where I used to play this kind of distorted, repetitive, kind of entrancing, psychedelic, fuzzy music with my friend Dave, who I grew up with. Not Dave Dieter or Dave Thiele, a guy I grew up with. We've been in bands since I was 10 and he was 4. We've been a duo.
Creepy Stick, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, Creepy Stick, exactly. So that's been a collaboration for, I'm 46 years we've been in a band together.
Wow.
So I'm kind of going back to those roots and then growing out of that my own new kind of style. I'm really into this guy Ram Dass and his philosophies about life and existence and perception, and I'm taking a lot of Ram Dass's ideas that I really resonate with and turning them into song ideas. And so it's kind of like I'm becoming the George Harrison of the group. I'm kind of switching into this cosmic, almost music you could dance to or fall asleep to or meditate to or celebrate or hibernate. I like that. You can celebrate or hibernate.
Yeah.
So anyway, and that's become endlessly challenging and amazing. And a new volcano has gone off, and I'm going back over all my scraps, and I'm finding all these breadcrumbs, songs that were trying to be this sound. This happens every time I find a palette. I go back, and I'm like, oh, there they are. There's all the little crumbs. And so it's fantastic. I would recommend that to anybody. Save everything you do. If you sit down and you write a show tune and you're a heavy metal guitar player, just write it and file it away. You never know what will be inspiring in 30 or 40 years. You might be like, oh, look at all the show tunes I wrote. Now I can quit my heavy metal band and hit Broadway.
And now you have another new album, I Am Not Me. Where can people find that? You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's my first album in this new style under my own name. And it is on Spotify and all those places that you stream music. You can get it. If you want to buy a copy and you want me to be the one you buy it from, you can go to It's chrisballew.org. But you can get it anywhere. Just steal it. I don't care. Grab it. Doesn't matter. Download it, zip torrent it, unzip torrent it, whatever you do, make a tornado of bits and enjoy it. And then I have my second one coming out in January. It's called Soul Unfolded. And the first single from that is already out and on Spotify and stuff like that. So my plan is to do 2 a year for at least the next few years, because I just have so many songs. I just wrote one this morning. I cannot stop. So,
wow.
Yeah, I'm going to try to rival the Beatles during the latter part of the 60s and do 2 a year.
I love it.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about your network. You've worked with a ton of amazing musicians.
Yeah.
How did you build this network of yours, Chris?
I don't know. I think, God, who was it? I remember. Chris and Tad, we did a show, or a TV show once. And one of the other guests was Quincy Jones. And he was asked the same question, like, how did you become successful? How did you connect with all these people? And he was like, number one thing you got to know is that you can't make the phone ring just by wishing it to ring. You have to take whatever you have in front of you, whatever you're working on that day, and really imbue it with your own style and hard work and joy and creativity. Because creativity is hard work. It's just, there's so much work involved. You have to work the idea out and tease it out and fix it and move it around and change the key or whatever it takes to make it resonate. And I try to do that. And his basic idea was, if you take whatever's in front of you and do your best, somebody will notice and come along and say, hey, let's do that together. And then somebody else notices that and they come in. And slowly over time, you build this thing, not by scripting it out or wishing for it to happen or strategizing, but just by being present with whatever you're doing right now. So that's just kind of what I've done. And I'm feeling pretty spiritually minded these days, but I think even before I had even the vocabulary and the focus and the concepts down, I've always been connected to some sort of fortunate universe energy. Just things kind of happen for me. And I think it's because I'm open and I'm available for whatever's next to sort of lead me in, rather than me trying to grab it and make it happen. I'm allowing it to happen. And people are attracted to that energy, I think. They're attracted to people who are clued into the moment and joy. And that just sort of is like a magnet for more people and more stuff. So that's my theory.
You've also done quite a bit of work with Weird Al, who we are all very big fans of here at Mackie. In addition to Lump, Gump, Weird Al directed a really cool video for Mixed Up SOB. What did you learn from working with Weird Al?
I learned that he can kick higher than me. I can do shoulder. He can do top of head. Al is just such a gem of a human being, such a nice guy, such a creative guy, such a good friend, and a great listener, and so sweet. And I love him. And so what did I learn? I mean, he's very technically proficient. I think I might have learned technical proficiency, like the art of patience with an idea that is technically challenging. Like that Mixed Up SOB video, we did a day of shooting, close-ups and various stuff. And then he went away and turned those into flip books. And then we filmed the flip books. And unfortunately, we didn't really calculate how, like, you got your computer screen, then you got the YouTube screen, then you've got a flip book. And it got a little pixely in there. But I really admired the sort of forethought and technical challenge of that idea. So yeah, I think I learned how to challenge myself to slow down and take your time with a complex idea. From Weird Al.
So you and Mackie have a bit of history. Presidents of the United States of America performed at our DLM series loudspeaker launch event in 2012. Do you remember anything about that day?
Well, what are you trying to say?
It seems chaotic. There's a lot of video, but it's chaos.
Yeah. That was at Barbosa, right?
I'm not too sure. I wasn't around during that time, unfortunately.
Okay. I think I remember this gig. I think it was the venue underneath Numos.
Okay.
And yeah, we enjoyed some alcoholic beverages that night and went a little nutball. I think there were pipes on the ceiling or something, and I ended up crawling all over the pipes. And actually, that building just had a water main break. I might have loosened something up that it took, 8, how many? I don't know, a bunch of years for it to actually explode. But yeah, I do remember that.
So what's up? Are you down to perform another launch?
Yeah, we're getting the band back together.
We'll take Chris Ballew. We'll take Casper. We'll take whatever form you'd like to show up as.
Okay, all right, that sounds good. Yeah. If I'm remembering the same venue or the same gig, it was memorable for sure.
So we're going to be sharing a few performances of yours. What can we look forward to this year performance-wise? Will you be doing shows with new material? What do you got going on?
I'm taking a break from that part of things. I think I'm kind of reverting back to the kid with 2 boomboxes and his mom's French tapes and that comfort zone. I think what I've kind of learned over the years, and this is not a knock on being in a band or a knock on Dave and Jason or any of the people I've been in bands with, but me personally, I think I'm way more of a mad scientist in the studio, more of a sculptor or a painter, like taking my time, pushing sound around, deleting a guitar in its entirety if it's not right and not having to explain myself to the guitar player. So I'm at the mercy of the song now, and I really enjoy doing that. And so the idea of making the leap to doing it live is kind of daunting, especially this new stuff. I would need a 6-piece band, and I think it would be kind of nutballs, or I could reinterpret it. I'm not, it's never say never, but right now I'm really enjoying just being the mad scientist in the studio. But as far as the clips you're going to show, these are some Caspar Babypants clips. When the pandemic hit, I had to cancel a bunch of shows, and then I got requests to do virtual performances. And I just thought, I'm not really into the virtual performance thing. I really loved being in the same room with people, and because I would never make a set list as Casper, I would just improvise, according to what the room needed at the moment. And plus there's scheduling with families. You say, all right, Casper's playing Friday at 1:00 on Zoom, and then somebody gets sick or somebody needs a nap or they're not in the right mood or whatever. And there's all the promotion that goes with it. So instead of that, I sat down in my studio and I recorded over 50 single-serving videos of a live performance, just like I would do at a venue with all the little gags and stuff. And so then families could go to my website and just sort of like pick and choose the songs they wanted, put them in the order they want, listen to them over and over if they want, when they want, as loud as they want. That's what that is. It's just me in my studio post-pandemic shutdown, offering people little song performances. If you want to be a bee on this song, just flap your teeny tiny bee wings and fly all around the room, and you will be a bee, like me, because I'm a bee is me. I'm a bee and a bee is me, and a bee like me likes to eat, and bother everybody on the beach. I'm a bee is me. I'm a bee and a bee is me, and a bee like me likes to eat, and bother everybody on the beach. All I want to do is land on you and eat your food. I don't mean to be rude, but you're eating a popsicle, a sugary popsicle. I like popsicle, I want popsicle. A big fat hand is swatting at me. Wonder if I should stay or leave, but I want sugar, and all I think about is me, me, me. I'm a bee is me. I'm a bee and a bee is me, and a bee like me likes to eat, and bother everybody on the beach. Okay, let's try this again. This would be so much easier if you and I were friends. You're eating a snow cone, a delicious snow cone. I want snow cone, I like snow cone. Zigzag, zigzag, up and down. I'm not trying to fly silly, I'm not a bee clown. A bee-sized bite is all I need, and I will leave you be. So please, 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 share your treats with the bees, bees, bees. Let me have a bite and I'll leave. Asking you politely. gotta stay cool, and your ice cream cone is making me drool, and it's minty chip. I like minty chip. My favorite flavor is minty chip. Now your hand is back, shooing me off. In a minute that ice cream will be too soft to land on, so I will settle for a dribble on your sunburned cheek. Here we go. Boom, pew, 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 pew. Woo! So please, 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 share your treats with the bees, bees, bees. Let me have a bite and I'll leave, leave, leave. Asking you politely, please, please. Thank you.
Takes. Takes.
Well, now I think it's time for our ins and outtakes, which is a rapid fire of random questions. Are you down for that?
Oh, yeah.
They're not too crazy. Don't worry.
Oh.
All right. Well, they can be. I mean, you can take them there, man.
Okay. I'm gonna open up my mind.
All right. We mentioned a few earlier. What is one of the most memorable collaborations you've been a part of, Chris?
Oh, Beck, for sure. Being in Beck's band was like this life-changing. The first time I was a professional musician, he was such a just like radiating bright, white-hot genius. Just being near him was, like going to school every day.
You all lived together too, right?
It was kind of like going to fame school because I joined his band after the Presidents had started, but hadn't hit it big. And I joined his band, did 2 tours. And I was the only band member not from LA. So I lived with him and we 4-tracked together and drove around LA and just like talking about his transition and what it was like to sign over a major label deal and all this stuff. And then I moved back to the Presidents and got to experience my own fame tornado. So that was the most memorable.
If you weren't a musician, what's another career you would have liked to explore?
I think teacher.
I could see that.
Teacher or actor. I've been thinking about doing acting lately. Every once in a while I walk around and I do Bohemian Rhapsody with a country accent. Like, Mama, I just killed a man. Put a gun up to his head. I pulled the trigger. Now he's dead. Mama, life had just begun. I got and thrown it all away.
We just made your tape for when you audition. Now there it is. Wrap it up.
It's like the guy comes home after a night of drunkenness. Mama, I just killed a man.
Oh, that's great. I think you would be great at that, especially with how active you are in your videos and on stage performances. You're wild. It would be awesome.
I think it could be an interesting challenge. So anyway, for some reason, teacher and actor are hovering out there somewhere.
All right, that's good. Well, we have your tape now, so we can get that to you after the show. So you're known for your crowd work and stage patter. Who's more responsive, child audiences or adult audiences?
Oh, I think adult audiences, because the kids are so in their own world. they're like barely there. They're just in this like cosmic crazy. They're like tripping all the time.
It's kind of like adults too at some shows, I would say.
Well, that's true. There's crossover stuff. Like little kids are the greatest drunk adults ever. And they're more punk rock than adult punk rockers.
Okay.
But then kids are a little more like off in their own universe, and adults are more like, I'm here for the show. I'm paying attention. What are you talking about? Generally, at least, I found. So, yeah, there's all these weird crossovers with the two different crowds.
How do you get inspired to write lyrics? We're all big fans, even if Larry David doesn't agree.
Ah, Larry David, that's so great. Being dissed by Larry David is just like the...
Did you write that Peaches song?
No, technically I didn't write the Peaches song. No.
Okay. What would prompt a person to sing such an idiotic song?
Because the way it's aged 20 years later, don't you see how relevant it is now?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I love that show. I love him. I love that show. I'm right up to date watching every episode. And I was watching that, and then he's like, what would possess somebody to sing such an idiotic song? And I was sitting alone at home, and I raised my hand, and I'm like, I'm here. I could tell you, but I can't.
I have to tell you, that's actually what took me down the rabbit hole. I was watching Curb Your Enthusiasm, and I saw Larry David made a comment about it, and I was like, I wonder what what Chris Ballew, what his reaction was to this. So I, went to your Instagram and I was going down everything. I'm like, man, I need to have this guy on the show.
See, now there you go. There's an example of like, I wrote a silly song 20 years later or 25, 26 years later. It's on a TV show. Then you see it. You ask me to be here. Who knows where this will lead?
Exactly.
I love that. I love the weird, like circuitous life road.
So back to the question.
Yeah.
How do you get inspired to write your lyrics?
It's different. With Casper, it was way more like I see an image or a silly character, or I've had an experience, or I hear an alliteration in some lyrics that I want to, or in, some words that I want to, stretch out and explore. So that was way more like I am trying to paint a picture like the Sgt. Pepper's experience I had when I was a kid, and I need the tools to paint the picture. These days, it's way more intuitive. I will do the Phil Collins thing where, the famous story when he did Susu Studio, that was what he said just to fill space until he could figure out what to say, and he never changed it. But I do that. I just make up weird random stuff that makes no sense at all. Like right now, I'm working on this song. I don't know what it is yet. It's, I don't know if you can hear it.
Yeah, I can hear
I'll go like, monkeys in the center of a tiny square. I don't know why they're there. No, I don't know why they're there, but they're inside a tiny square. Okay, so I'll just say monkeys in a tiny square. That doesn't make any sense.
Can we just do that the rest of the show?
Monkeys are here in a tiny square. I'll just use that to unlock, shake loose melodic ideas, or even, certain little words will end up being, useful. So yeah, it's I improvise, and I'm ridiculous and messy and stupid for a while. And then out of that weird soil comes a flower of like concept. And then I nurture it and water it and grow it. So yeah.
How does it feel knowing you made iconic songs that even Hank Hill is singing?
Hey, what Hank Hill?
Have you not heard that?
No.
Say, I wanted to ask you, Hank. Let's see, how should I put this? You ever heard the song Peaches?
Well, let's see. I might be able to think my way through it. Going to the country, gonna eat a lot of peaches.
No, that's not the reason I asked.
Oh, wow. That's
I love
amazing.
that I'm the one that told you.
Oh, that's awesome. I actually, one of the things I did on the side outside the Presidents was I did music for commercials and TV shows, and I made a huge library of music that I licensed to commercials. And one of the shows that I demoed for was King of the Hill. And I didn't get it. But,
well, you got it.
I didn't get Arrested Development either. Oh, that one hurt. So
wow.
Anyway, that is great. I love that. I guess there's a Amy Poehler produced show, a cartoon, where they refer to Caspar Babypants all the time.
Really?
You're playing Ticklepalooza!
Ticklepalooza? That's a festival that launched the Hooly Doolies, Blippy the Clown, and Casper Babypants.
You mean Casper Babypants of the hit song Noodles and Butter?
Who the hell else would I mean?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can't remember. I've never watched the show, so I'm not. It's like somethingville. Anyway, sorry, Amy. I don't remember the name of the show, but it leads me to believe that Amy Poehler knows who Caspar Babypants is.
So, if you can tell your younger self something, what would it be?
You are a ghost driving a meat-covered skeleton made of stardust. Relax. That's it.
You're just going to leave it there? Okay, I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I would tell my younger self, I guess I would say don't worry, but everyone kind of would say that, because if I'm here today to say something to my younger self, it means I survived. I guess there were times when I thought I might not survive. I went through some depression and some, I've had like 2 or 3 times when I could have died. For various reasons, which I won't go into. So I guess maybe what I would say is don't look for a solution. Don't look for a singular solution, a singularity in your way of thinking. Broaden your way of thinking to include all the grays in between black and white. I think I used to be real like, what's the solution? Like, all I need is this guitar and this little amp, and I'm just going to sing songs about this. And I was always fascinated with the singularity of trying to make the world into a singularity. And I would say to my younger self, open up and receive rather than try to force your minimalist perspective on everything.
Well, coming from someone who can make magic out of 2 strings, I think you've done pretty well for yourself.
Yeah, that's true. I think I've discovered that the limitations are actually my jam. I love limitations. I love knowing my palette. Like this music I'm working on now. There's a certain spot where I start to get kind of wacky with it, and I'm like, no, I don't want to be wacky. I'm going to take those weird little, wood block and bongo parts out and that bizarre little pew 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 sound. I gotta shave off the whack a little bit, but anyway, I like understanding my palette and being limited and being like, there's my palette. But then the nice thing about knowing your palette is you can push it and, change it, and then it resonates against the core. So yeah, it's all fine.
Last but not least, who would play you in the movie of your life?
Well, let's see. Who would play me? Boy, I'd love Pee Wee Herman to play me. I don't know why he pops into my mind. Or maybe in the seriously fictionalized version of my life, it would be someone like Ed Harris. Like somebody ruggedly handsome but also bald.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to share, Chris? Websites? We talked about your new album, where to find that, if you want to remind people where to find that again.
Yeah, sure. So there's babypantsmusic.com that's the Baby Pants hub. You can find my wife's artwork through there. Her name is Kate Endle, and she's got all kinds of amazing prints and original work and, paintings on little stumps and all kinds of stuff. And you can get to her through there. And then there's chrisballew.org. It's BALLEW.org. And that's I've got artwork that I'm doing on there. I've got this new music, and I've got an archive of free music, tons of weird old cassettes, stuff I did post-Presidents. I have a huge collection of ambient music that I've done for meditation or stuff you could put on while you're writing or working on art. That's free. So dig in and enjoy that. And those are the main 2. I don't think the presidents even have a website anymore. We're just floating in space.
Well, I'm sure we'll figure out how to find you all.
Yeah.
Before you go, who do you think we should have on the podcast next?
Oh, you know who you should have? Pete Droge. Pete Droge lives here on Vashon Island, and he is a real gearhead. Loves to talk about recording, songwriting. He and I get on the phone once or twice a week and just go down crazy rabbit holes. This new music that I'm making, actually, I have 2 people that I play it for before I finish writing and release the stuff, and one of them is Pete. So he's a real musical thinker. He would be great.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much for your time today, Chris.
Thanks for having me. All right, Jamie, take care. I'm going to go.
You too.
I'm going to go boing, boing, boing.
Thank you so much, Chris. Once again, I'm Jamie Hernandez, and this is the Ins and Outs with Mackie, a show about awesome gear and awesome people. We'll be bringing musicians, engineers, podcasters, streamers, and sometimes the occasional Mackoid. If you're new to the show, make sure to hit that subscribe button on your favorite platform to get all the latest Mackie updates as soon as they're out. And be sure to check in the description on how you can win a free microphone. Until next time, Mackoids. All right, and that's true.
I'm gonna grab a planet with my tiny hands. I'm gonna be a monkey in a funky band. Tonight, 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 tonight. I'm gonna shrink down to a smaller size. I'm gonna concentrate and leave the ground and fly.